You're born underground, in a burrow your mom didn't even bother digging herself. The first sound to reach your ears? Your own squeaks. Not exactly the battle cry of a future legend, but don't worry. That fierce attitude is on its way. For now, you're a helpless little thing, blind, bald, and perpetually hungry, with no idea how complicated and chaotic the world is about to get. Spoiler alert, you're going to make it just as chaotic for the world in return. Mom doesn't have time for tender moments. She's busy running defense, snarling and snapping at anything brave or foolish enough to think her burrow looks like easy pickings. You're too small to notice her staring down predators twice her size, but if you could, you'd be taking mental notes. For now, life is blissfully simple. You eat, sleep, and occasionally chomp on your mom's tail when she's not paying attention. It's a pretty sweet deal. But change is coming fast. In a few months, simplicity will be a distant memory. Once you're old enough to keep up, Mom doesn't coddle you. She leads by example, dragging you along on her daily rounds. No explanations, no instructions, just watch and learn. Your first lesson? Bees. Lots of bees. One day, Mom marches up to a buzzing hive and tears into it like it owes her rent. You hang back, unsure whether to be awed or terrified. The bees are furious, swarming her face, her paws, everywhere. But she doesn't even flinch. Why? Because she knows the prize waiting inside, honey and bee larvae, the ultimate jackpot. Eventually, she grunts at you, a honey badger's way of saying, "Your turn." Nervously, you edge closer to the hive, swipe at it, and instantly regret your decision. A bee stings your nose and you yelp, tumble backward, and scramble away in a panicked mess. Mom doesn't even glance up. She keeps munching, like this is just part of the lesson. And maybe it is. With time and a lot of stings, you start to figure things out. By figure it out, of course, I mean you stop crying every time the bees get you and focus on the reward instead. It's far from fun, but it's effective. You're learning one of the most important honey badger survival rules. Pain is temporary, but snacks are forever. By the time you hit 6 months, life gets a little more exciting and a lot more challenging. Mom still watches over you, but gives you more room to make mistakes. And mistakes? Oh, they're plentiful. Your first hunting attempt is, let's just call it, educational. You spot a scorpion and think, that looks slow enough to catch. Spoiler, it isn't. It dodges, stings your paw, and scuttles away while you flop around in frustration. Thankfully, honey badgers are practically immune to poison, so the sting doesn't kill you. But it does hurt enough to make you reconsider your approach. Your second attempt is slightly better. This time, you set your sights on a lizard sunbathing on a rock. You crouch, wait, and pounce. The lizard tries to escape, but you manage to grab its tail. It thrashes, you thrash harder, and somehow you end up with your first real kill. It's a small victory, but it makes you feel like you can conquer the world. Spoiler, you can't. At around a year old, Mom decides she's done babysitting. One day, she's just gone, leaving you standing alone in the middle of the savannah with no backup plan. Welcome to independence. Your first days on your own are a mix of small wins and spectacular disasters. You figured out how to scavenge, so meals are manageable, small mammals, eggs, the occasional insect. But you've also learned, often painfully, that not every fight is worth starting. A particularly bad encounter with a porcupine leaves you limping for days, your pride as battered as your paw. Slowly but surely, you start finding your rhythm. No more reckless lunges at anything that moves. You're learning to pick your battles. Scorpions? Easy? Snakes? Even better. They're packed with protein and, more importantly, don't intimidate you. Venom, please. You don't just handle it. You brush it off like it's a mild annoyance. One cobra bite later, and you're napping under a tree, letting your immune system handle the fine print. By the time you're 2 years old, your reputation precedes you. The savanna's big hitters, lions, leopards, hyenas, they all know your name. Sure, you're not a heavyweight. Most of them outweigh you tenfold. But what you lack in size, you more than make up for in sheer, unrelenting audacity. They've all learned the golden rule. Picking a fight with you isn't worth the hassle. You're not here to win. You're here to make every second of the battle miserable for everyone involved. Take the time you stumbled across a leopard guarding its fresh kill. Any reasonable creature would have backed off immediately. Leopards don't share. It's practically written in the Savannah rulebook. But you looked at the leopard, looked at the kill, and decided it was your turn. The leopard let out a low, menacing growl, daring you to make a move, so naturally you did. It snarled and lunged, and you lunged right back, straight at its face. For a moment, it was a deadly game of chicken, all claws and teeth poised for impact. The leopard, clearly unimpressed by your audacity, took a swipe. You dodged effortlessly and countered with a full-throttle charge. That's when it hesitated. Maybe it was running a quick cost-benefit analysis. You were smaller, yes, but your relentless attitude was enough to give even an apex predator pause. Finally, with what might have been an exasperated sigh, the leopard slinked off into the bushes, leaving the prize behind. Victorious, you dragged the carcass away like you'd planned it this way all along. But it's not just the big predators you face, wild dogs sniffing around your dinner, a cheeky jackal hoping to sneak by. You don't discriminate when it comes to picking fights. Big or small, if something even looks like it might be a problem, you're going to make sure it regrets ever crossing your path. For most animals, survival is about avoiding conflict. For you, it's about doubling down until everyone else gives up. Not because you're the strongest, but because you've decided you are. Confidence, it turns out, is half the battle. By the time you're 3 years old, you're ready to carve out a territory of your own. The only problem? Real estate on the savannah is in high demand. Every decent patch of land is already claimed, so negotiation means biting, growling, and generally making life miserable for anyone in your way until they give up. Your first attempt doesn't exactly go as planned. You stumble into what looks like unclaimed land, only to find out it belongs to an older honey badger who's not thrilled about the unannounced visit. There's no warning growl, just a blur of claws and teeth as it comes at you full force. The fight is fast, brutal, and ends with you limping away, a little wiser but no less determined. It's fine. You didn't want that patch of land anyway. Eventually, you find a perfect spot. There's enough cover to keep you hidden, plenty of prey nearby, and a water source within easy reach. Of course, it's not unoccupied. A jackal has claimed the area, but unlike a honey badger, it isn't particularly keen on a fight. One snarl and a half-hearted charge are all it takes to send the jackal running, and just like that, you've secured yourself a new home. Territorial life is straightforward. You patrol your boundaries, marking your space and sniffing out intruders as you go. When something crosses the line, a curious mongoose, a wandering fox, you deal with it swiftly. Most animals catch on after one encounter. The stubborn ones, well, they get a not-so-subtle reminder. It's not the most glamorous routine, but it works. You hunt, you sleep, and occasionally you stir up a little trouble. About as close to domestic bliss as a honey badger gets. By the time you're 5, you've mastered the art of being a honey badger. Your scars could tell 100 stories, but bragging isn't really your thing. Your territory is secure, your hunting skills are sharper than ever, and most predators know better than to mess with you. Life has settled into a steady, comfortable rhythm. Hunting isn't just about survival anymore. It's about efficiency. You've learned to conserve your energy, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. A fat rabbit, a slow bird, or an unguarded snake's nest can keep you well fed for days. Once you've eaten, you retreat to your den for a long nap, only emerging when hunger calls again. It's a simple life, but it's yours, and it suits you perfectly. Still, time catches up with everyone, even you. By the time you hit 8 or 9, you're not as quick or resilient as you used to be. The fights you once charged into without hesitation now leave you aching for days. You start to avoid confrontations when you can, not out of fear, but because you've earned the right to pick your battles. Every scrap of energy counts now, and wasting it on unnecessary challenges simply isn't worth it. One day, a younger honey badger wanders into your territory full of fire and clearly looking for a fight. You size it up, remembering when you were the one with something to prove. The scuffle that follows is rougher than you'd like, and though you manage to send the intruder packing this time, you know the truth. It won't be long before someone else comes along, someone stronger, faster, and eventually they'll take what's yours. That's just the way of things. When the end comes, it's quiet. After years of fighting, hunting, and carving out your place in the world, you're simply tired. You find a shaded spot beneath a tree, curl up, and let the savannah carry on without you. There's no grand farewell, no dramatic exit, just a peaceful moment to rest.